The story of Beck Park begins in 1906, when legal stenographer Laura Kincaid came up with an idea to establish a health resort for the employees of the May Department Store Company. After a couple months of searching, the company rented a sprawling 500-acre farm owned by Civil War hero Jesse Joplin and his wife Mary on Bald Hill Road in Eureka during the spring of 1906. On June 30th, 1906, the new health resort opened with a spirit-crushing attendance of just 2 people. Over the course of the inaugural summer, however, the attendance steadily rose, as more and more employees learned about the resort. On the property, guests could partake in hay rides, parties, dances, and walks to the businesses of Eureka. Another popular activity was walking down Bald Hill Road to the Merrimack River and swimming or fishing beneath the Baldpate Bridge. The resort grew so popular that the company moved it to a farm in Crescent, Missouri, a small community next to Eureka. Unfortunately, any pictures or information about this second resort has been lost to history. During the summer of 1909, Sidney M. Schoenberg and Morton J. May of the Schoenberg Mercantile Company bought 125 acres at 84 Lewis Road in Eureka for $35,000. The property was perched on a hillside on the banks of the Merrimack River at the border of Jefferson County and St. Louis County. It was also within a few miles of major towns like Eureka and was on the path of Antire Road, then a heavily trafficked road between Crescent and Valley Park. After a busy summer spent on constructing roads and buildings, the resort opened on June 5, 1910, the same date Six Flags Over Mid-America opened in Eureka in 1971. The property featured a dance hall, tennis courts, over a dozen cabins, a swimming pool, a private beach in the Merrimack, boat docks, and a chapel. The crown jewel of their third resort was a beautiful 2-story clubhouse. It featured 26 bedrooms, a 10,000 square foot screened-in porch, a large entertainment space, and verandas on the second floor that gave guests breathtaking views of the valley below. The resort also had its own water system pumped directly from the Merrimack. There was a water tower, miles of clay pipes, and a pumping station at the back of the property. Initially, the resort was owned by the May Department Store Company. In December of 1911, May Company's founder, David May, merged 2 major St. Louis retailers, the Famous Clothing Store and the William Barr Dry Goods Company, to create the Famous-Barr Department Store. Soon after, the new company took ownership of the resort and changed its name to the Famous-Barr Outing Farm. Over the next 20 years, the thriving resort witnessed rapid growth of the surrounding area. It began in 1925 when the newspaper St. Louis Star-Times opened a new resort directly across Blakey Road from the property, called Times Beach. The new resort was built on the farm of the Votaw family, who had farmed the land since they came to Eureka from Kentucky in the 1820s. In 1931, U.S. Highway 66 was built through the area, transforming the area's rural farmland into a bustling commercial district. The new highway replaced a dense network of country roads, like Blakey Road, Antire Road, and Hawkins Road, creating a much faster route to the country from St. Louis. To accommodate the new highway, the Votaw Bridge was replaced and demolished in 1933. After the Great Depression, the popularity of resorts in the Merrimack began to wane. This decline was also related to the opening of brand new highways like Route 66 and the Daniel Boone Expressway, which replaced railroads as the predominant form of travel to the country from St. Louis. This severely impacted the popularity of resorts like Lincoln Beach and Castlewood, which is dependent on the Missouri Pacific Railroad for traffic. During the 1940s, the resorts closed one by one due to complications from World War II. Some transitioned to communities of permanent residence while others disappeared. The Famous-Barr Outing Farm closed in 1942, sitting quietly until big game hunter and inventor Vernon Beck and his wife Lola purchased the property in 1952. They made many changes, such as renting out their cabins and constructing a room for Vernon's taxidermy. The property became known as Beckwoods and was a haven for summertime parties and relaxation for the Becks. After Vernon's sudden death in 1965, Lola had her best friend Nova Meadows and her family move in with her, and they lived together until Lola died in 1981.
So my grandmother lived there, Lola lived there. My 2 uncles, Mike Meadows and Tracy Meadows, were full-time there. They did a lot to help Lola out. Eventually, my brother, my sister, and I would spend part of the time, because our grandmother was our babysitter, caretaker. My mom worked a second shift, so that's why we had bedrooms there and whatnot. My Aunt Patty Spurgeon, and her son, my cousin Teddy Spurgeon, also lived there. Lola was very paranoid about spending money, so she didn't want to repair anything. So, unless it was like absolutely necessary. So, the house was getting very worn out. So, but you could still see the beauty in the place. Half of the living room had this big partition, so they didn't have to heat the whole place. There were, I believe, 24 bedrooms upstairs, and then, 25, I guess, because there was one at the top of the stairs that had a key closet. It looked like where they would make keys. There was a key maker in there, in the closet, and then there was a bedroom and a bathroom. That was the only one that had its own private bathroom. This was a resort, so it's what you'd expect. It was, there was a men's and women's bathroom right at the very top of the stairs, across from the key closet bedroom. As you were, keep going up the stairs, there's a landing in the middle, and then you go the rest of the way. The men's and women's bathroom was on the left. The key closet bedroom was on the right, with that little bathroom. And then you walk straight down the hall, and there was two big rooms on each side, and then there were bedrooms lining the hallways. Downstairs, we didn't always enter through the front front door. You mostly parked in the back, and you came in through the kitchen. There was a sunroom. My grandmother's part when Lola was still alive, which was bedroom, bathroom, little kitchenette also there. Come back through the kitchen, there was a laundry room, freezers, refrigerators, and then you took a couple of steps up and you went into the dining room to the left, the main living room. There was a powder room and the main bedroom, and then you walked through and there was a big ballroom. And then if you were walking through that, to the right was the game room. As you were out on the grounds, there was the pool. The pool was not fixable, like I would, to go back to what I was saying before, she didn't want to fix anything. There was a leak in the pool. We had tried to fill it, I think, a few times, and it was a pretty severe leak. So we just actually have photos of it. We would play football and dodgeball in the pool. My grandmother, I don't think she was the one that planted them, but there were some blackberry bushes there, and she would make Lola her famous blackberry cobbler, and Lola, that was probably her favorite dish. I remember that. Peach cobbler and blackberry cobbler. They could not stop the fire from burning because the bridge across the river was too weak. So the pumper trucks could not get across. There was nothing to do. The ambulance got up and got my grandmother. There was one fire truck that was just a regular cab truck. I remember that. But other than that, they couldn't get the bridge was not sturdy enough for the fire trucks to get off.
In February of 1984, a fire in the kitchen burned the summer home to the ground. Though Nova managed to escape, she lost everything except her dog. In 1997, the property reopened as Beck County Park, a beautiful park owned by Jefferson County.